Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Welcome to the online platform Civil Techno Bricks. Guys, here we will tune for the instantaneous decoding of conceptual knowledge in the field of civil engineering, where study elaborates decoding the earth to build a better world. Guys, today we will see the important question answers related to the engineering geology which are most likely to be asked in the exam. The type of questions which will be framed on the basis of rock mechanics and soil mechanics characteristics and its parameters with reference to the usage in the civil engineering domain. Here, the question related to the earthquakes or disasters point of view for the 6 marks. Here, the question is the compare earthquakes, then floods and landslides based on the causes, effects and mitigation strategies. Here, we are studying the causes, effects and mitigation strategies for three types of disasters. So causes, effects and mitigation strategies are on the vertical parameter base, where the earthquakes, floods and landslides are in the column. So we have to write our answer with reference to the comparative analysis or the descriptive analysis based on some tabulated format. Why? Because the disasters like earthquakes are the sudden and tectonic impact in the erosion, where floods are the water related and they are often seasonal, while the landslides are slow failures triggered by rainfall, earthquakes, or any human activities. Means the proper planning, engineering measures, and awareness that reduce the risk and minimize the losses from each type of disaster. So the causes for earthquakes are most important to study. Likewise, the floods and landslides, the effects of that earthquakes on the society, on the urban infrastructure or on the village areas based on some civil engineering domain like construction of building, bridges and road lifelines. That effects of floods also and landslides also are most important to study and write in your answer. The mitigation strategies based on that each and every flood type are nothing but same, but we have to plan that mitigation strategies with reference to the severity of each type of flood or the flood prone or the earthquake prone area. Likewise, here in heavy rainfall regions we have to prepare for the floods. In earthquake prone areas we have to prepare for earthquakes, or in the landslides or hilly regions we have to prepare for the landslides. Likewise, the comparison of causes, effects and mitigation strategies required for that type of disaster which will be planned. So your answer must have to complete with the flowchart, where the process itself explains that natural trigger or human activity like rainfall or any type of natural human activity, then hazards that are the earthquake, flood or landslides, after that impact on life, property and environment, and then mitigation measures and preparedness for satisfying the risk or minimizing the risk. Likewise, so here the most important parameter of that answer is that type of comparison. So you have to write that type of comparison because it requires large mark with reference to the marking scheme. So the total 6 marks are divided with reference to this, and we have to complete our answer with reference to that descriptive parameter. Next question, which is most important with reference to the geological investigation concept for the 6 marks, that is the compare direct and indirect method of subsurface geological investigations. Here the two methods are there, direct method and indirect method. So comparison of direct method and indirect method, which is your most important answer in your exam. So here the direct method they are involve physical access, where indirect methods there will not be any physical access. Means the methods in which the subsurface is investigated by actual exposure or extraction of material by the drilling, by the excavators or by any gallery construction within the earth surface. So here auger boring, rotary boring or wash boring are used. Drilling in times of coal drilling are used. With reference to excavation point of view, we can cut pits, trenches and shafts, test pits, trial trenches, galleries and adits. Likewise, we use the direct methods for geological investigation. On the other hand, we use methods in which subsurface conditions that are inferred from measurements made on the ground surface. So we can't use any destructive technique, but we are using seismic methods like refraction, reflection and maswa, where electrical methods like resistivity method, Geophysical methods where gravity and magnetic method, ground penetrating radar, and remote sensing and aerial photographs. So these are all the advancement or technological investigations that will be more fruitful in the geological investigations without any destructive technique like seismic survey, electrical resistivity survey, GPR survey, and gravity magnetic survey. So with reference to civil engineering domain, we have to mark the aspects of comparison of that direct and indirect method. So which method is more feasible for which area, or with reference to the time parameter, with reference to the usage parameter, then accuracy and reliability also. So the flow for that subsurface investigation started from defining the objective, scope, and the aim of that project. Then we have to study and review the existing data for that project required. Then we have to go reconnaissance survey, that is the indirect method, where detailed investigation, that will be the direct method for selected points or the ground control points. Then we have to collect the samples for the laboratory testing and interpretation, and then we get the engineering geological report. So the conclusion, that direct method provide actual and reliable data, but they are costly and time consuming within limited coverage, where indirect methods are rapid, economical, and cover large areas, but the results are interpretative and less certain. So for effective investigation, both methods are complementary and should be used in combination. So that most important answer which is in the conclusion domain. So the marking scheme for 6 marks, which indicates the definition of direct method, definition of indirect method, 1 mark with reference to the example and explanation. Then comparison, which is most important, 5 to 6 relevant points for 50% weightage, that is 3 marks. And then flow and conclusion part, that will be the half mark. So the comparison for that geological investigation based on the direct and indirect method, which will be explained. Then most important question related to the type of fault, or we can say that the components of geology, where what are the effects of faults and their significance in civil engineering, where the faulting, what are the effects of faulting, that is faulting, what is mean by faulting? Faulting is a fracture in rocks along which there has been relative displacement or deformation of the two sides due to tectonic forces, due to the tectonic forces. See the types of faults just for the reference: three faults: normal fault, reverse fault, and strike slip fault. Here the normal fault, which is upward downward, hanging wall moves downward relative to the footwall. This is the footwall, this is the hanging wall. So the hanging wall moves down, so hanging wall moves downward with reference to the footwall. This is the footwall, this is the hanging wall. Here reverse fault, hanging wall moves up relative to the footwall. So footwall will be the at downward side and hanging wall will be the upward side. With reference to that strike slip fault, here the horizontal movement along the fault plane. With reference to that, the horizontal displacement which will be monitored or countered with the movement of the fault plane. So the faulting, which is most important phenomenon nowadays to investigate the foundation or the beneath to the earth surface, that are the soil layers and rock layers. So with reference to the rock point of view, we are checking the effects of faulting based on the rock mass, then weakening of rocks, then creation of discontinuities or available of discontinuities within the rocks layers, change in groundwater conditions, topographic geographic effects, induced seismicity, and offset of structures and infrastructure. So 7 points are most important as an effect of faulting. That your answer must have to contain these 7 with reference to its explanation within 2 lines. After that, the most important part of your question is the significance. So what is the significance of that faulting with reference to the civil engineering domain? If we are engineers, we have to construct anything, then we have to use the land. So that we have to check the availability of land and suitability of that land, or the availability of rock and suitability of that rock. So that the site selection criteria, foundation design, tunneling and excavation, dams and reservoirs, linear structures, earthquake consideration, and many more significances are also we can list in that area. So just 6 are most important with reference to each and every construction project, so that the effects or the importance of faulting which will be noted with reference to civil engineering point of view. So here that effects to significance flow related to the tectonic forces, faulting occurs, effects produced or the shaken or weakening displacement deformation, then influence on engineering works and engineering significance. Here the significance in the civil engineering, that will be listed with reference to the process or flowchart. So your answer must have to complete with reference to that flowchart, so that we came to know that the key takeaway of faulting that can be significantly influence the behavior of rock masses and the performance of civil engineering structures, where the proper investigation, analysis and design are most important, where the precautions are essential to ensure safety, stability and economy. With reference to that short marking scheme, where effects of faulting 4 marks and the significance in civil engineering 2 marks. Likewise, your answer must have to complete within the exam. Stay tuned guys. Happy learning.